I
Yeah.
love this tool. I just absolutely love how you have made this process so organic and how powerful it is.
Yeah, and I will say too that I think now from sort of like a teacher perspective, it didn't really dawn on me how foreign this is to some people until my dear friend Kim, she has the Love Your Design, and we did a class together a few years ago on asteroids. And in the beginning of our class together, she's like, Caroline, I don't even know what you mean when you say like, get your supplies out. And I forget, I'm like it seems overwhelming. And what I'm learning, I've done a few workshops at the URI campus here in Providence. I remember people just being like, you need to just tell me exactly what to get. Like that starter toolkit, you know, and that you forget that, oh, you need this step and this step and this step. And then once you remember that, it's like, wow, this is a lot of fun for people. It's all about getting stuff that just makes you feel good, and it's not expensive, and it's like we have a water brush and you get markers, and I say you have to play. You have to play with it. It's truly not something that's about what does it look like, and that's the hardest thing.
So there are tools, you know,
Yeah.
and I imagine some of the tools are you need something to draw in, you need some good fun colors and ways that you want to add that color to the paper and tools like that.
Yep.
When you go into the process, or when you guide someone into the process after they have all of their
They got their tools. Yep.
yeah, all the nuts and bolts that they need, how do you get them into that frame of, or that mental space, or that space where they can really play?
Okay. So first of all, I don't think I'm getting them into that place. I think my job would be to inspire somebody to feel like they have, that word tools is really important because it's not just the physical tools. They have the ability to, and I like the word practice, they have the ability to practice this. So what I do is I recommend that people approach this as a sacred process. I do not ever like to separate like the sacredness or the spirit, and it doesn't matter what your spiritual practice is. That is irrelevant to me. But it is a spiritual practice. So the type of journaling that I do and I teach about wouldn't be for someone who doesn't see this as a connection to the heart, like a heart opening. How do you describe that? It's so personal and heartfelt and soulful, but it's also not that precious. It doesn't have to be that precious. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I have to get, that's another stumbling block for a lot of people too. Oh my God, I have to pick the best journal, and I have to do. The one thing I am pretty good at this point is, if this is where the human design does come in, I can tell a lot about someone's chart, how they can approach the journaling. When you look at someone's chart, for instance, you can see a lot about how they learn or how they are best going to work with a certain process. But I've worked with people, I've done workshops, you know, I did a Women Who Run the Wolves workshop, which I love. Like, I love so many things I'd love to combine with visual journaling. And I remember one of the women, my good friend, she was like, I don't want to color. And we could see why. Of course, there's always like childhood stuff that's there, but we could see in her charts. So what I said is, well, okay, how about collaging? So we got scissors and magazines. You don't always have to draw either. That's what I want to say to people. This isn't just about drawing things. That happens to be something I do in a lot of my pages, but if you see, like this one is like crazy. It's like a painting, but not a painting. I have paper, so
it can be really mixed media.
Yes, thank you. That's what it is, mixed media. And it makes it even more fun because you've ever seen those fabulous movies, whether it's like Harry Potter or I just saw the one with Spiderwick or whatever, and the guy has this journal with all the fairies in it. That's what I feel like in my journals. And I get all different kinds of papers. You know, you can get tissue paper, you can get wrapping paper, you know, it's not scrapbooking, let's be clear about this, but you can line your pages. You can, and I hate this phrase because it's so overdone, but it is a thinking out of the box situation. It's like, what makes you happy? I've literally glued seeds inside certain ones in my pages and then drawn things coming out of the seeds symbolically. It's all symbolic for me. You know, it's like, of course, because I'm a seed and I'm growing and but I don't think about necessarily all that when I'm doing it. I just,
Yeah.
I feel like the way people get lost in this, where they need the guide. We all need guides with things, like, or at least I do. Like, I never could have understood human design without having guides. I feel like the guide is about, and this is where I come in, you want to have it so that your student internalizes these guidelines, so then they don't need a teacher, of course. That's the bottom line. I mean, you always have to be wary of the therapist or the teacher who keeps you in the loop so that you don't know enough and that you're always having to get that guidance. That's not,
yeah.
Not cool.
The purpose of the guide is to empower. And
empower.
To pass on the tools and empower.
Exactly. You're getting information to empower yourself to understand how to do that. And of course, and then that's why we have books, so you can look back and make reference and all that other stuff. This is a question people ask me, do you do it every day like a diary? No. But I feel like there needs to be a dedicated purpose. It's like a kid who says, I don't know what to draw, Miss Jane. That's my last name, Jane. I don't know what to draw. You need like a guide. So for me, starting my first visual journal was the breakup with my boyfriend. But, you know, was me having to be like, okay, I need to have a space where I can see what's going on with this. My experience with people who have tried to do the journal, but then it's kind of been like, has been they haven't had a purpose for it. It hasn't had like a thing, like when I taught my Advent class using human design, I literally said to everyone, I'm making a journal. I'm getting a new journal just for this process. I recommend you do that too. Like I always say, don't like find that old notebook that you used back in 2001 because you have 5 extra pages in it. You can spend $2, go get a notebook somewhere else, and you're going to dedicate it. And then you're going to say, and you make this a very ritualized process, whereas you say, this is a dedication. So that's where you might take the time and make a beautiful cover, or find your favorite postcard and you put it on top, whatever. That in itself is a whole class. You use meditation, whatever the tools that you use in any other way, you're going to use that to set it up. And in the beginning, it does take a little discipline. I'm not going to fool you about that. It does.
And that's why it's really useful to have a guide or to have a touch point, some sort of a container or place that you go to have a touch point to continue that process until it really becomes more or less natural.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's just, we always hear that with everything, whether it's, you know, the stupid learning to ride a bike thing, but it's true because the repetition of how to approach the page, that's why Julie Cameron does talk about the morning pages. You get up and you write 3 pages no matter what. People who have written say that that is actually a really good discipline. And it's not about how good it is. The visual journal is the same thing. Like, it's not about how good it is. You are not allowed to judge your visual journal, and you're not allowed to let anybody else judge it.